All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Best Self Blueprint. The mission of this podcast is to bring on people who I believe have the experiences, knowledge, and insights as to what it takes to truly move the dial towards becoming the best version of yourself. So, this guest is the living, breathing example of rags to riches. She went from nothing in the bank, living on food stamps while working as a trainer in the morning and server at night, to now running a crazy successful training business where she helps her absolutely massive amount of followers get and stay healthy. Through her creative content, her track record for results, and amazing personality, she's made a huge positive impact on the world and improved many lives. So I am very excited to introduce her. Anna Quinn, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm so excited to be on this podcast today.
I am very excited to sit down and chat. So, I want to start by you going through your journey, getting into like from that, just grinding it out, not really seeing the manifestation of the lifestyle you want to have, that, but like what was the initial spark of transitioning from the hustle with really nothing to show for it to now, again, just having tremendous success in business?
Yeah, so I think the my breaking point, I decided to move or I transferred. I was working at Lifetime Fitness. I was working for that company, transferred to Dallas so I could be closer to my family. And when I moved here, I got like the week I moved here, I got walking pneumonia and I ended up in the hospital. And I was starting a new job as, or a job as a trainer at a new location. So I had to start over with all my clientele and rebuild. And that's one of the hardest things for, a trainer. It's just rebuilding your clientele, making your name known in a new place. And to have walking pneumonia, and I didn't have health insurance at the time. And, I was struggling. So it was so hard for me to try to make those connections and be bubbly. And I was still showing up for work when I was sick. And I just got to a point, I think I did that for 2 or 3 months. Like I tried to fight really hard to find my place in that location. And then I realized I could make more money in less time, even just waitressing, or I could take a couple of my clients and do sessions with them and make more than I was making in a day. And so I started doing the math, and I knew that I didn't have the funds to back myself up if I didn't make it, if I didn't have success with my business. And so um, I could have used that as an excuse, but I think that was actually my fuel, is knowing like I don't have money in the bank. And so if I go and quit my job and do my own thing, I'm going to have to make it work. And I have my dad and my mom and my family, but honestly, my dad has really instilled that entrepreneur spirit inside of me because he has always started up companies and I've seen him do it when it's, risky or whatever. So I think that's probably also a huge part of why I was able to make the leap and just decide to start a company.
Yeah, one thing I want to highlight that you said in there was it could have been an excuse, but I used it as, that fuel. That is something I think just right off the bat, so many people can learn from is, yeah, the scary thing about excuses is oftentimes they are valid. You have an excuse, yes, it can work, but it's up to you. Do you want to validate that excuse and let that hinder you? Or are you going to, I say flip the script all the time on here, but really, are you going to flip the script and instead use that thing that you don't like to motivate you to push forward? So I think that's amazing. Now, that was kind of like the nutshell. What were some trials and tribulations you did face? Because like you said, starting a business is risky, going on your own is risky. What were some of the things where they did trip you up along the journey?
Yeah, so a lot of it is just learning to be a responsible business owner, I think, and that is definitely a process. I it's probably a fault. I don't know if this is a learning mechanism or a fault, but it's kind of worked as both. But I learn by making mistakes. And you can tell me something, but I want to try it myself, or I can hear that advice and accept it. But a lot of times it doesn't really make sense to me till I'm hands on. And so a lot of the things that, have been trials, they're just are the things that have tripped me up have been lack of knowledge on my part and just doing things and then finding out that it was a mistake and having to correct it. So even like little things like having a schedule, which is seems like such a small thing, but when you're starting a business, if you don't dedicate if you don't block out time to actually dedicate to your business and say, I'm going to work 3 hours a day, or I'm going to work this time to this time 3 times a week, whatever it is, you have to dedicate time just like you would a normal job and a shift that you have to work, or it's not going to succeed. Um, and I think people might argue and say you don't have to have a certain blocked out time daily like I could do. But for me, that's what I found is I needed a schedule. I needed some kind of structure. Because in the beginning I felt like I was just always working. I was working in little bursts in between sessions and whenever I could. And then I really started seeing results in my business when I started actually blocking out time and being intentional about getting more clientele.
Yeah, I can second that. When I first started the business, it was more like, okay, cool, this is more of a passion project anyways. I'll just sprinkle in a couple hours here and there. But I heard a talk from, do you know who Brendan Burchard is?
I have,
Self-development guy. So he's awesome. If you find the time, he's probably someone you would enjoy. But he mentioned if you really have gratitude for your life, you'll schedule like all your waking hours and fill it with intentional things that'll move you towards what you want to do. And so I started doing that, and I really started writing down not only, okay, cool, I'm going to work on best self. This half hour, I'm going to contact potential clients. This half hour, I'm going to look for people for interviews. And I like that you said not only make a schedule, but fill it with intentional items. So I think that's really, really useful.
yeah.
So,
Well, when I started, I wanted to do the online thing as well, but I was training in person, and I actually hired a mentor for the purpose of helping me turn my in-person business to go online. And that was advice that he gave me, but he saw me like struggling and killing myself with these in-person sessions. But I saw the online thing as supplemental income. And the thing is, whenever you're trying to add something into your business that's not just if it's just supplemental income, you're going to treat it like that. But if you look at it like this could be its own like major source of revenue, then you dedicate that time to it too. So I think I didn't even realize at the time I was giving it supplemental time because it was supplemental income instead of thinking like this could actually be my only or my main income. And then when you realize that, it's like, okay, then I need to give it the time it deserves.
yeah, so talk about mentorship a little bit because I know for a fact you know the importance of that.
Yeah.
I know your mentor, Brandon, and not personally, but I know of him. And he is such a good coach in terms of getting results for people and showing them the blueprint. And so how has having a mentor who's, gone through the path that you want to go through helped you maybe skip a few rungs on the ladder?
So with any mentor, I think the you have to come in willing to learn, and you have to also come in realizing that this is a different person than, I mean, obviously, but you have to realize that they process things different, they receive things different, and you have to kind of take, I think in a lot of cases, take the person out of it and look at the system and try to apply that to your life. Because it's kind of funny like that Brandon was my first business mentor, because Brandon, his image and his clientele, they're very very different from what I like. Brandon cusses and a lot of stuff is very he's clickbaity, but that is his thing and it works. But posting photos like kind of like risque stuff or cussing, that's not me. It'll never be me. It'll never work for me. So clickbait doesn't that's not uh parallel with my values or my brand. So with Brandon, he has so many amazing techniques, but I think the biggest thing that the most value that he added was having these things and providing the system and the structure and the organization for the business, like all of the systems that he teaches. and then also being able to see what he would recommend in certain situations and then trying to put my own spin on it. And yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't be within a few months of working with Brandon. I was actually like traveling with him and his team and kind of talking about what I was doing with online coaching and helping his new students with their online coaching. So that just shows, you know, the value because that he put, because I was able to put it back too with that.
Yeah, the thing I want to drive home for people is just because you have a mentor doesn't mean you have to do. And I'll admit I worded that wrong and like follow their footprints. I completely agree with what you're saying. Where you do need to take that person out of it. You are not them. They are not you. You have a different style. You have a different personality, and you shouldn't just be a carbon copy of that person. You should take the ideas that resonate with you for your business, realize what you need to change and implement, and then, yeah, put your own spin on it. Because if you're really
Yeah.
looking to build your brand, you're not going to do it by emulating something that's already out there.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I'm glad you kind of course corrected that because I feel like I set that up not in a very articulate way. Now, for people, there are a lot of people, especially just times are crazy right now in the fitness industry. What
Mhm.
advice do you have for fitness professionals who they love what they do, they have a passion for it, but they're starting to get away from it because they just don't feel they can make money doing it? What advice do you have for people to maybe like get back in the game or pivot, or what steps do you have?
So this is going to sound really generic and probably really crazy, but I think personally, I personally believe that the future for fitness professionals is more so in online accountability and high ticket sessions because I worked with people in person. I charged them when I started. I think I was doing like $50 a session, and I was the highest that was the highest price session in the little box gym I was training out of. Everyone else was like $35, which, you know, where you live is everything. Geography, you know, influences the price of the session, the city, all of those factors. But I was charging $50 a session. I was seeing clients 3 times a week, and I was only keeping them accountable those 3 hours. And I'm not good at math, so doing it really quickly in my head, I can't do it. But 24 hours times 7 days a week is 168 hours. I was helping my clients with three. There are 165 hours left. And so the advice that I would give to fitness professionals who are burning out is find ways to help them in all those other hours, and your clients are going to see better results and you're going to make more of a profit. Because would you rather get paid for 3 hours or 165? So that, I think, with the sessions, you know, if you have in person, if you love in person training, you don't want to let that go. Find a way to make a really good profit off of that without having to work a lot of hours, and while still providing value in the other hours during the week if you can. And if not, then pick up some of the online stuff or start doing offering online training. I mean, I was in my book like a fabulous trainer in person. My clients loved me. They stayed with me for a really long time. I rarely ever had someone stop unless they moved far away. But I'm actually a better trainer now because I'm able to help them when they go out to a restaurant and eat something off of their meal plan, or when they don't sleep well, or when they can't work out 5 times a week and they need a program that is 3 times a week but a little bit longer. You know, it's more customizable for what they need and what's going on in their life right then. So that would be my advice to those trainers too.
Yeah, well, and so to kind of continue that though, I think a big part of if you're looking to go online and you really want to add value the entire 168 hours of a week, you need to add utility to your toolkit where you are able to help them figure out how to manage their time. You are able to help them figure out their nutrition, their sleep patterns, how to stay healthy, throughout the course of a 24-hour period. And if all you know how to do is teach people fitness, that's going to be a little tough for you to market yourself. So learning the different skills that all intertwine that allow you to present yourself as an expert throughout the course of the 24 hours. But yeah, I think that's going to help a lot of people who, again, like I've seen trainers just dropping off because they're just nervous about the future of in-person training, which isn't completely unjustified right now, at least in the short term. But so I think that'll help a lot of people who want to stay doing what they're doing, just maybe pivot a little bit and still help serve. So I appreciate all that advice.
Well, and I do want to say too, if a trainer has a specific niche for like corrective exercise, or you just really love working with people who have had knee surgeries, something like that, that is a high ticket session. Like that can be a because it's, you have to have a certain, a high degree of knowledge. You're basically a physical therapist, but you're actually hopefully providing more value because you're not just fixing the problem, but you're teaching them how to strengthen it so it doesn't happen again, prevent it. um then yeah, maybe in person can still be a thing, but otherwise, yeah, like the online space, there is a lot of money to be made in it, and you're able to provide a lot more accountability than even just in person. So
Sweet. That is, I think that's a really good, just kind of like almost bite-sized chunk of information that people who are in that position can take and hopefully apply and implement. I want to transition because you are a fitness coach. You work with, I don't even know how many people through your social media, through your online training, but I'm curious to ask you this. What is one of the popular myths, especially recently, that maybe like clients or followers will talk to you about that you want to just debunk?
as far as online training, or as far as like
As far as
nutrition,
like
like
fitness, nutrition, sleep, stress, things like that. Like what's something where you've heard multiple times and you're like, no.
I have to pick one.
You can pick as many as you want. I won't limit that.
uh of the main ones, the biggest ones, if I miss my workout, I'm gonna get fat. There's a misconception that you have to work out every day or even every other day. Truthfully, I haven't seen much change in my own fitness journey since I've been working out 3 times a week. And in my clients, it's the same. As long as you're prioritizing rest and your nutrition's good, you don't have to be in the gym 5, 6 times, 7 times a week to get results. And a lot of times that's what's hurting people, and stopping the results. And then another one is, uh, if I eat more, I'm going to gain weight. Or there's such a fear of food. And I will tell you, like 9 times out of 10, but really 10 out of 10, but I'll say 9 out of 10 to make it sound better. When a client comes to me, they are under eating. And as soon as I increase their food to an amount that their body is actually able to sustain and give them fuel, like provide more fuel for their workout, they get results. And the scale does not matter. That's one more I want to throw in there. The scale doesn't matter, because I've had clients who had a roll of fat on their back, and 3 weeks later it is smooth and gone because they were eating more, and they weigh the same, and they're messaging me saying, I don't think I've seen progress. And I've said, just hold out, we're going to get on our video call in a couple of days, I'm going to show you your progress. And they're blown away because the scale didn't move. So the scale doesn't determine your progress. Healthy food in 1600 to 2000 calories is not going to make you fat. And I don't know what the other one I said was. And you don't have to work out every day. Those are the main ones.
I am so happy that like I'm talking to you right now. I just, as I mentioned before, I just talked to two dietitians. Exactly what you just said tracks, where it's like if you get rid of that fear of food,
Yeah.
life will become so much easier. And it's not just the actual like food itself, it's the stress level that people put around food,
Mhm.
which I won't even get down into my whole snowball of what stress does. But yeah, so that tracks. I just wanted to
I
put
have
that
had
out there.
I'm glad. I've had so many clients, even over the last few weeks, tell me that they have really, like, they'll put on their consultation form when they start working with me, I get really bad cravings, or I have food anxiety, like an eating disorder where I eat all throughout the day, and it's caused by anxiety. And not I do not claim to fix eating disorders, or I'm not never going to say that, you should work with me instead of a professional. However, I will say that the last 4 clients who have told me that they have some sort of anxiety eating disorder have told me within the first few months that they haven't had any symptoms or any triggers. And that's because what they thought was them eating because of anxiety was actually them eating because their body's craving food because they're not getting enough proper nutrients. And then we give it to them and they're like, my cravings are gone. My nervous eating habits are gone. And I'm like, no, it was just that you're hungry. Your body
Yeah.
needed it.
Yeah. So, and I think nutrition is really one thing that trips a lot of people up. What is another thing, again, out of the insane amount of people who ask advice for you and like start programs with you, what are a few of the things that you see trip a lot of people up that someone just starting the journey should be aware of and anticipate?
Yeah. One, don't undereat. This is I wish I had a better example, but I don't. And so I'm gonna share this one. But when the little brochures they have for orphans you can sponsor, they're like these African babies with big bellies on the cover. No one is sitting there thinking like that kid is eating way too much. It's an orphan and they're asking you to give them money because the kid's not eating. But yet this kid has a big belly. Why? It's because they're under eating. And when we're under eating, our bodies are in storage. Our food is it's in storage mode. So your body is trying to make whatever you get last as long as it can. So it slows down your metabolism. And so we don't burn food the same way. And so under eating is never, I hate that that's the only example I have, but that's what our bodies do. They store that food as fat when we're under eating. So don't under eat. Um, don't add in excessive amounts of cardio unless you want to do it the rest of your life. That'd be my number 2. I have worked with a lot of competitors who they did a competition. Their coach had them doing 45 minutes of cardio in the morning, 45 at night. And that's then, a couple weeks in, they have to increase the amount of cardio that they're doing because their body gets used to it and starts requiring it. So don't do a ton of cardio. Add in a little for your heart health if you want to, but focus on your resistance training. And those are the only ones I can think. Those are the main ones I can think of right now.
Those are good. Yeah. I hope officially we've hammered it home and people pick up like not to be afraid to eat a certain amount of calories. Now, go to a nutrition if you're really like nervous about it, go talk to a nutritionist, go talk to someone who actually knows what they're talking about. They will tell you the same thing. You should not be limiting yourself to like 800 calories a day by any means.
But I even struggle with that because I've had people come to me from nutritionists and say that their nutritionist had them eating 1,200 calories for the last 3 months. I had a client who was working with a nutritionist at 1,200 calories per her doctor's recommendation. She wasn't losing weight, so her doctor gave her fat burning, or gave her a prescription for weight loss. And she came to me. I said, talk to your doctor first, get your doctor's approval before you do this, because I can't technically tell you to do this.
Mhm.
But I would like to see you come off the medicine and follow this meal plan for a month. And if you haven't lost fat, then talk to your doctor again. Doctor agreed to it. We did it. Crazy transformation just by eating more, and she didn't have to take the medicine. And I actually have her whole like testimonial. I filmed it because I was like, this is wild.
That's awesome. And yeah, so for anyone who doesn't yet know Anna or follow her on social media, follow her on social media. At the end, I'll ask her all of her places to follow, but some of her content and just the differences, the transformations that you see on there are crazy. And she breaks down how people get those transformations. So mid post or mid podcast shout out, but seriously, everything she said so far is proven time and time again. Now, I want to talk about practicing what you preach a little bit. So, what are a few of the habits that you have, whether daily or weekly, that you would recommend other people pick up? And then, like, what are the benefits of them?
Yeah. So resistance training, I think that that should be a habit or a staple in everybody's regimen, because you if you go do cardio, you're burning calories while you're on that machine. I go to on the treadmill, I'm burning cardio while I'm on that machine. If I do that for 45 minutes, great. I burned however many calories. If I go do resistance training, I can, like weight training, lift weights. I can burn the same amount of calories in that 45 minutes by doing, or more, but I can burn at least the same amount of calories by doing resistance training. But I'm also gaining muscle, and the more lean muscle mass you have, the faster your metabolism is. So the more you burn calories in the future. And when you resistance train, if your heart rate is at a certain level, there's something called EPOC, excess post oxygen consumption, which means that you can burn more calories for the next 48 hours after a weightlifting session. So, do you want to burn calories for 45 minutes on a treadmill, or do you want to burn calories for 45, the same amount of calories, plus you're going to burn more calories every day for the rest of your life because you have more muscle, plus you're going to burn an extra surplus for the next 48 hours? So, that resistance training definitely should be practiced by everyone, in my opinion. And then also, as far as nutrition, what I practice, what I believe is a good, healthy mindset, not necessarily the healthiest approach for your body, but learn your macros, like learn what you need to maintain your physique, or, maintain your body. Let your caloric deficit come from your workout, your training, if you want to have a caloric deficit. And then allow yourself to be flexible and have food freedom. So I posted about this on my story today, but I'm traveling. When I'm traveling, the healthiest option, which is not what I'm doing, would be to still eat healthy foods. Go to the grocery store, pack up my little hotel fridge with healthy options. But because I don't want to do that, because that's boring, because I want to be able to enjoy myself a little bit more, I'm going to allow myself the freedom to pick one thing that's kind of bad each day. And then the rest of my options, I'm going to try to fill whatever my macronutrient or my calorie goal is. I'm going to try to get to that number so I'm still within my goal, but I'm going to do that with healthier foods. So I allow myself to have a treat because I'm traveling and it's easy, and treats are higher calories. So I'm going to fill a lot of that calorie gap. And then the rest of the stuff is going to be my healthier, cleaner options. So practicing food flexibility and working out.
Two very good things to do. And I think you bring up a good point where if you allow yourself that freedom in moderation on like a day to day or week to week, you're not going to have that big blowout where all of a sudden you drop $30 on McDonald's and stuff your face and feel horrible about it, which
Mm-hmm.
again, you shouldn't. Like you should get to the point where you feel good about the things that you're eating, your ability to enjoy a good dessert, a good cheeseburger or piece of pizza or whatever. And that's something I want people to pick up on is just because you eat something unhealthy or have a cheap meal or go out with your friends, you stressing about it just makes it that much worse. So enjoy it. So, two very good tips and tricks. All right, let's see. Ooh, so to kind of piece it all together. So, we talked about your business, we talked about people getting into fitness, we talked about habits. One question I have for you is because I think a lot of people need to hear this who are in jobs they really don't like, they're like soul draining. They want to pursue their dream job, but they don't because of either fear of failure or they fear that they won't be able to accumulate the money to live the lifestyle they want to live. So, what's your advice for people who are in that state of mind? And then, if and when they decide to go in, what are a couple tips you have for that journey?
Yeah. I think my best, I guess the best advice for someone who wants to but is kind of nervous to. I talked earlier. I said that that's the thing that, I could have used it as an excuse, but I used it as my fuel instead. Even just taking it a step further than that, I believe that if you have an idea for a business and it's not just like, I wonder if I could make donuts with peanut butter on top and that'd work. Not like that kind of idea, but like something that like drops into your spirit, like that type of idea. And you're thinking about it a lot and you have your first steps lined up, talk to some people about it. Maybe talk to people who are doing well and people who maybe, don't talk to your coworker at the grocery store who doesn't ever want to leave. Talk to someone who actually has maybe a successful business, or someone you admire, you want a life like. But if that has been dropped into your spirit, I think that you were meant to do that. And I think that every entrepreneur who has had a genius idea or a wonderful idea, they were all scared, but that idea was so deep in them that they knew that they had to do it. And I think anyone listening right now has some sort, like, if that's them, they'll feel that. They'll feel that right now. They'll know. And so if that's the case, and you got to start it. You just have to. You don't have another option. So you have to find a way to make it happen and take that leap of faith. And then best advice as far as, what to do when you start, just ask a lot of questions, research a lot, know your market, and remain stay with what your purpose is. Don't try to uh, sell yourself short, or don't try to conform to any little group that you think you might have to. If you have something different, if you are someone different and you have an impact you want to make, like, it doesn't matter if your lane is quiet, it doesn't matter if you're not getting the same kind of engagement, just keep pressing forward, because you will have a very, very loyal following and fan base and people that are going to, want to be part of your movement too, if you stay true to who you are and what your specific calling is.
Yeah, that really hit home, especially for me, because this is like my company and the podcast, which is kind of like a little branch off of the company, is just that. It was one of those things where it just kept nagging at me. And I had the entrepreneur spirit, if you will, the itch, some people call it, back when I started a painting company with a friend of mine. And it was one of those things where I knew I enjoyed entrepreneurship, but that wasn't the idea I wanted. And as I got into fitness and health and mindfulness, it just kept nagging at me. And I completely get what you're saying, where you just feel it in your spirit, your soul. And if you really do feel that, at least take a chance. Like, you might as well.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned it before in earlier episodes, but if you're really freaked out that what if it does fail? Great. Then keep your job and start it up as a little side project. Keep funding it, keep working on it, developing it, do the research, talk to the advisors, the mentors, the coaches. And then once it starts to gain traction, then keep fueling the fire. But at least do something with it. You're put on this earth to make an impact. I do a morning motivation where I listen to one motivational audio, and one of them was talking about you matter. And one of the things it said was, you are the aspirin to someone's headache. And I stopped the car, I pulled over, I paused the audio. I was like, that is so true. It doesn't matter what your gift is, you have a gift.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what your passion is, you have a passion. And to not put that out into the world could be depriving someone of that gift, and they may need it more than you think. So
Well, I love that quote. I do want to mention, just because this came up, is when I started, I 'cause I think you said get a side hustle or make it your side hustle. When I quit my corporate training job, I got a job as a waitress and started my training business, like, independently. But I was working, just training clients all day, and then I was bartending and serving clients at night, or doing the waitressing thing at night, and till like 1 2 a.m., closing up the bar and everything. And when I looked at that, I got to a point where I was like, the training business, I can't just do this. But if I took the 5 hours I spent waitressing tonight and spent that putting flyers on cars, or talking to people in the gym or something like that, and just closed two clients, I would make more than I made tonight. And I started thinking like that. And so if you need to do that, if you need to have a backup plan for your business, like, that's okay too. But you need to constantly be evaluating it and say, okay, at this point, is the time I'm spending making enough money to keep this job? Or if I put this towards this, would it make more? And it is always a little bit of a risk, but if you have the attitude that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it work, and you're passionate about it, and it is in your soul, then it's gonna work out.
Absolutely. And I could keep this conversation going for hours. This is like my bread and butter is what we're talking about right now. But I will get into, I do a little finale. So it's a final two questions. But before that, because I want people to follow you, especially people who are into health and fitness. So where can people connect with you to, if they have questions, if they just want to keep up with your content, where can people connect with you or follow you?
Yeah, so my Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all of them, they're Anna Quinn Fitness, ANNAQUINN Fitness. And my brand for like my training and the movement, and my side brand is Modest Muscle Movement. And that's kind of what I'm trying to shift into. And it's Modest Muscle MVMT. So yeah.
All right. I highly recommend it. I follow her
Yeah.
myself and I have gotten a lot of good info from it. Also, I'll put that stuff in the show notes. So, the final two questions. The first one is, what right now for you is the biggest obstacle between you and your best self?
Um Rest. And that's so generic. I had my business was Anna Quinn Fitness. I had started it as Anna Quinn Fitness, which meant that it was very hands-on, had to be hands-on. It was my name, my face, my brand. And now I don't want that anymore. Like I want to be able to help others. I want to be like other trainers too. I want to build something that can kind of sustain itself, because I've been burned out. So rest, needing to prioritize and schedule my rest, just like I used to have to learn to prioritize and schedule my work. Now it's the opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a sign of your success though, to say that you're at the point where now it's like, okay, I was helping clients, but now I'm to the point where I'm kind of at that next stage of helping trainers help clients, and it just multiplies the impact. So huge congrats on that. Now that you're on a little like weekend vacation, if you will, take some time, get that rest, enjoy the food. The final question is less of a question and more of your opportunity to directly challenge the audience. So, what is one challenge that you have for anyone listening to this? It can be health related, fitness related, rest related, relationship related. One challenge, one thing they can do that, when implemented, will give them a new perspective or better their life in some way.
Know, learn, decide, understand, dissect, know your calling. Because every single time I have tried to focus on some other aspect, whether it's in my training business, just focusing on getting clients, just focusing on making money, just focusing on my system. My personal calling is to spread the name of the Lord, and to tell people about Jesus, and to, because I believe, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus. That's my calling. Whatever your calling is, you have to keep your eyes on that, because in my business, whenever I take my eyes off of that, it doesn't matter how many sales strategies how many great ideas I have for marketing. It never works as well as the few things that I do that are centered around my calling. So I think that's for everyone, no matter what your calling is, whether it's in religious or not. Know your calling, because that is the thing that every morning you have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, I am here to XYZ. What am I doing today to get closer to that? And if you're not doing things that are going to get you closer to that, then you need to figure out something else.
That is so powerful. So I'm going to add a little onto that. So I talk about like the big questions with people who are just, they feel like they're going on autopilot to reprioritize and reset intention in their life. So the big questions are, unfortunately, we're all going to leave our body at some point. We are going to pass away or move on to whatever's next. And at that point, you're going to be asking yourself certain questions to gauge whether or not you're fulfilled with what you did with this life. And so if you can put yourself, as uncomfortable as it is, if you can put yourself in that situation, figure out what questions you'll be asking, and then reverse engineer the process to develop habits and daily actions to prioritize those questions, I think that's a good way to find that calling and figure out what you feel you're meant to do here.
Yeah.
But I love that challenge. And although I believe I've already found my calling, usually I make sure that I do the challenge as well. I'll take extra time to decide how to best implement my calling.
Mhm.
And I think that's an amazing challenge for everybody is if you don't feel as though you're 100% certain of what your calling is, take time this week. Take time to yourself, no distractions, no phone, no TV, and just sit and be with yourself and internalize that. Why are you here?
Yes. Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
This isn't like a promo for this, but there's this thing called getaway cabins, and they have or getaway house or something like that. Getaway something. Definitely not a promo, but they have little cabins out in the woods that, and they're like 90 minutes from every major city, and they have lock boxes for your cell phone. And I actually went out there with my dog. I took a couple days to just go out there, unplug, and it was for that reason. And I was like, I need to figure out what I need to do next. What I need to do next. What's my next step? And literally it was on that I felt like God told me what you need to do next is just stop doing and just be. Like, and that's where I realized rest is my next step, like learning how to just enjoy where I'm at instead of just constantly being like, okay, this isn't enough, so what do I need to do next? So I think that's what you said is so important, but I think also sometimes like learning to be content and learning to just be and be okay with where you're at, like that is huge when it comes to really learning and appreciating your calling too.
Yeah, it's so cheesy, but I'm just going to say it. We're not human doings, we're human beings. So learn to just be. And I'm
So
definitely going to have to get that info from you about those,
yeah,
whatever they're called. Um,
yeah.
yeah, that sounds awesome. All right. So officially, that is it for the podcast. Anna, thank you so much for taking the time, especially with the schedule you have, just for sitting down, sharing your story, sharing your advice. But also, like, you are just such an inspiration to so many people. And to live the life that you are and impact the amount of people you deserve so much respect and appreciation for what you're doing. So it is about time I give you that from me at least. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you. I appreciate this. And I'm so behind you and your brand and what you've everything you've told me today, I think is amazing. And I can't wait to see more.
Thank you. I appreciate that as well. We'll have to get another conversation going on or off camera regardless. But for everybody listening, if you have any questions about what Anna said, what I said, comment below. And as always, if you feel there's somebody you know who could really benefit from what we talked about here, share it. That's why that share button's there. It's the purpose of this podcast is to get this information out to the people who really need it most. We want to be that aspirin for their headache. So that is about it. Anna, thank you so much again. And for everyone listening, we will see you next time.